Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Tuesday, April 24th, 2007 debate of the Toronto Debating Society. And this evening, we are going to debate the topic, be it resolved that the Canadian Senate is superfluous. And I would like to introduce our Prime Minister, Michelle, to come up for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House resolves that the Canadian Senate is superfluous. And I'd like to take this opportunity to define the resolution for you so that we all have a clear understanding, so that the opposition has a clear understanding of what us, the government, are here to propose to you tonight. Canadian is defined as native to Canada. The Senate is defined as the upper house of Commons, a member of part of the Canadian Parliament, is defined as, for tonight, as it currently operates. And superfluous is defined as not needed to govern effectively. Ladies and gentlemen, that Canadian Senate is superfluous, and I'm here to outline the position of the government for you. I have 3 main points that I'd like to outline, and I'm going to live in further detail. First of all, senators, those who are appointed into the Senate, do not have to have any previous political legal skills in order to be appointed. Second of all, they are appointed, not elected. They are appointed in by the Governor General on the advice of the Prime Minister. And last, for my argument, is accountability. They do not have a lot of accountability. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to outline these for you right now. No prerequisite skills. I'd like to go back to about 1867 when the Senate was first established in Canada. The prerequisite back then was that senators owned land in the amount of $4,000. $4,000 in the province or in the territory that they represented. They had to own real and personal property of $4,000. In 2007 terms, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a lot of money, but at the time it was set up so that they would represent the economic and social elite of Canada. Now, that $4,000 has been translated into approximately 200,000 Canadian. That's a point of how it's progressed throughout the years. Now, no prerequisite skills aside from having money. The Governor General appoints the senators on the recommendation of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister often chooses select senators that represent his or her political affiliations. So we're not looking at somebody who has the best skills to be a senator. We're looking at somebody who is friends with the Prime Minister. And ladies and gentlemen, we propose to you today that that is not a good enough reason to become a senator. They do not accurately represent the Canadian population. They are there to represent the social elite. They're not there to represent you or I. They're largely men. Canada, last time I checked, had about 50% women. And they are largely, if you'll excuse me, male and white. They are largely French and English. They don't represent the cultural diversity of this country, of which we are quite proud. And let's move into accountability. The Senate, Canadian senators, what do? They rubber stamp bills into law. That is what they do. It comes up from the House of Commons. This is the proposed bill. The Senate sticks a stamp on it and moves it into law. They don't question it. They don't stop and ponder what is going on. Why are you passing this in? They just move it in. They are not allowed to affect any sort of financial transactions from the lower house, the House of Commons. And the majority, if not all of the bills, originate in the House of Commons. They don't originate in the Senate. This accountability issue is critical. It's critically something that needs to get changed. They need to have more accountability, and that's what we would like to propose to you today. One of the ways that we would like to do that is to shift it away from right now where they are appointed, and they are appointed for life. They're appointed until they are 75 years old. They can go in at age 30 and stay for 45 years. We would like to shift that so that they are elected. It's an elected role. We propose that election come up frequently, and that introduces some checks and balances to make sure that the senators do actually attend sessions. They do question bills when they come to you because they represent you, the people. They represent us, Canadians, and they have a duty. They must represent us when they're passing through these laws. What if we don't agree with the laws that they are rubber stamping? They are our voice, they represent the highest court in the land, and they have to represent the Canadian population. And so, ladies and gentlemen, tonight I propose to you that we change the Canadian Senate away from what it is right now. The House resolves that the Canadian Senate is superfluous, native to Canada, and it must, as it currently operates today, it must shift so that it can govern more effectively to represent all of Canada.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've now had a definition of the debate topic. We now have had some arguments and some evidence presented by the Prime Minister. We will now have the Leader of the Opposition come to the podium and direct for 2 minutes questions, to which the Prime Minister will stand and respond without delay.
Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, members of the government. Madam Prime Minister, you stated that the Senate is only there to rubber stamp and that they affect no change. I believe you said this. Are you aware that 4 times in the last 40 years they have refused to pass a bill? And are you also aware that 173 times they have made amendments and changes to bills proposed from the House of Commons? How do you speak to that?
Mr. Leader of the Opposition, are you accusing me of not being able to do my job effectively? Of course I'm aware of what happens within the House of Commons. I am, after all, the Prime Minister. I am the second female Prime Minister in this fine country, and it's my duty and honor to do a good job.
My second point, Madam Prime Minister, you said bills do not originate in the Senate. Well, I am about to tell you that they do. The Senate can initiate bills. They are then debated by the Senate and then sent to the House of Commons for final passage. How do you speak to that?
The majority of the bills originate in the House of Commons and then are sent up to the Senate.
But you said that they do not.
I'm surprised, Mr. Leader of the Opposition, that you would question the actual occurrences of the House of Commons. I would have thought that you, of all esteemed men, would have known.
I believe your words were do not originate in the Senate, and I am telling you that they do. They initiate, they propose, and then they're sent for final passage to the House of Commons. My third point, Madam Prime Minister, you suggest that we must change the Senate. They should not be appointed, they should be elected. But I thought we were here talking about the idea that the Senate was superfluous.
How we would like to change the resolution as the Senate as it currently operates, Mr. Leader of the Opposition. We would like to take it and evolve it to a different level. Thank you.
5 minutes.
The Prime Minister would also probably have us believe that highways are superfluous because we could probably get along without them. Well, we probably could. People did 200 years ago. But I contest that everything goes much better with our roads and our highways and our transportation system. This is the foundation of our transportation. Just the same as the Senate, along with the House of Commons, is the foundation of our government system as set up by the UK or to model after the UK system in 1867. It has been working for 140 years, and I suggest we allow it to keep working. John A. Macdonald, in his work with the Fathers of Confederation, said that the Senate was there for sober second thought. It's exactly the same model as the United States has. They've had it for over 200 years. The UK has the same model. They're going on 800 or 900 years now with their Senate, their second thought. This is a necessary part of our Western government system. A second point that I would like to make, the Senate can also, something else that happens that a lot of people don't know, the Senate quite often delays the passage of a bill. The House of Commons knows exactly what that means when they send a bill up to the Senate and it sits there and it sits there. It means the Senate is not happy. Quite often what they do, on purpose, they delay it until the House of Commons is not meeting again, which means when the Commons does reconvene, they know that they better look at that bill again because the Senate is sitting on it. So that's a very important, sober second thought that they give themselves, and they tell the House of Commons, you better look at this again. Often compromises are reached because of the Senate. For instance, in 1990, the House of Commons proposed a GST, as we all know. Their proposal originally was 9%. The Senate sat on it for a while, sent it back, and it ended up being a compromise of 7%. So the Senate has a very, very important role in making amendments and changes to our laws and our bills. The Senate, as I said, can also initiate bills. Quite often these are bills that the House of Commons either cannot or will not handle, will not decide. Sometimes they're very, very tricky situations. They're sent to the Senate, and the Senate then initiates these bills, draws them up, and sends them back to the House of Commons. The Senate has the power to insist that the House of Commons accepts proposed amendments. And that's a little known fact. So a bill goes up to the Senate, they make some changes, and they can put it back to the House of Commons, and they insist that the amendments they made must be passed before the bill is passed. And I would say also that just like we don't get rid of our highways and our roads, I would suggest that we fix potholes if they need fixing, but let's keep the foundation the way it is. Yes, there are some things that can be changed about the Senate, but let's keep the Senate the way it has been for 140 years. It works well. Let's keep it that way. Thank you very much.
There we go. Now we have seen the cross-examination part for the 2 minutes and the opposition side to the leader of the opposition for 5 minutes. Now we have an opportunity for the seconder for the government to come up and for 2 minutes address the standing leader of the opposition based on his queries, and then he will speak for 5 minutes in favor. Michael.
Thank you very much. Assuming you think like a senator, these questions are designed not to tax you very much. I would like very quick answers to the first two. Is the Senate currently sitting? No, thank you very much. Do you know when they're next going to be sitting?
Probably when the chair is put in.
You do not know. Thank you very much. What was their most recent incident when they made a change to a bill? The most recent one?
I do not know. You
do not know. Thank you very much. When what was the most recent time they rescinded a bill that came from the House? Most recent.
12 years ago.
12 years ago. They're certainly on the job, aren't they? Ladies and gentlemen, when did they last introduce, the last time they introduced a piece of legislation?
Exactly 2 to 3 years ago.
2 to 3 years ago. Boy, they're getting quicker now, aren't they? From 12 years to right up, ladies and gentlemen. You said, and I don't know how I missed this, but you did say that we have the same system, the modeled after the United States system. Did you not say that?
No, I did not say that.
Did you not say that?
Yes, he did say that.
No, I said it was
we have this on video. We will be checking this later.
modeled after the UK system.
I could have sworn you also said the U.S. We heard it.
Similarly, they have a second house.
Okay, but the big difference is the United States Senate is elected, which proves our point beyond any shadow of a doubt. Is there 2 minutes up? We don't even need any more time, is it? Okay, well, that's all we need. Thank you very much. We don't need that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to reiterate the points made by our esteemed leader. First thing about the fact that the senators are appointed. It's not representation by population. They're appointed by their political stripe. We all know that. They're not there for their ideas. They're not there for wanting to do anything. They're there because they're either liberal or conservative or whatever. They vote along party lines, and they don't vote how they feel or how they think. We all know that. We're told it's a chamber of sober thought. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think so. After those senators have their clubby 3-martini lunches, there's nothing sober about the thoughts of the senator. Usually they don't have to go back for the afternoon anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Ladies and gentlemen, they don't represent the wishes of the Canadian population. There's 23 conservative senators and 62 liberal. That is not the wishes of the current government, the current populace of Canada, where the majority have voted for conservative. It's not representative. Ladies and gentlemen, they're appointed by the Prime Minister. They're old bag men and friends and people they owe money to and people they owe favors to. That's who becomes in our Senate. Let's talk about the second point. They're not accountable to anybody. We all know that. Our senators, if they're no good, too bad. They're there till they're 75. How do you get rid of the senator? Impossible. There's no incentive whatsoever to do a good job. There's no penalty if they don't do a good job. Ladies and gentlemen, the U.S. senators are elected. If they don't do a good job, they are gone, like the world should be. Why is it called the upper house? Why? Because to stay awake, most of the senators are on uppers. That's why. Either that or because they're so old, their upper plates of their dentures are falling down as they're dozing off at their seats. Ladies and gentlemen, I repeat, they are not accountable to anybody. Checks and balances that they have is power. They have the power, but they rarely exercise it. Most of those 123 changes were punctuation. We all know, we all know that. We do have checks and balances in our Constitution. We have a monarchy in this country. The Governor General, as the Queen's representative, can and has the power to veto bills that they don't feel are proper. We have that check and balance already. The third point, no prerequisite skills. Well, isn't that obvious? The only prerequisite to being in the Canadian Senate is being able to breathe. Ladies and gentlemen, even that's sometimes in question. You know, the most notable Ontario appointee is former Toronto Maple Leaf hockey scoring great Frank Mahalik. Wow, his skills? Well, he sure could score goals. He shoots, he scores, ladies and gentlemen. When Frank at the Senate, it's mostly he shoots, he snores. Ladies and gentlemen, what does the senator get? I would ask you, Steve, but he probably wouldn't know that either. How he can express an opinion about something that he knows so very little about is beyond me, but that was very characteristic for someone who thinks about the Senate. 125 big ones a year. They're rarely there, they rarely sit. You know what the quorum is? The same number as you, 15 people. If there's 15 senators, that's a quorum. Is this what you want to run the country? 15 people, 14%. 15 out of 105, 14%. And you know something? There's many instances when they can't even draw that many. We all know that. Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Thompson, famous senator. He was away living in Mexico for 7 years, never in the House. $500,000 in salary, $100,000 of expenses. He got booted out finally. They changed the rules about some things because of him. He still gets $40,000 a year pension. Ladies and gentlemen, $100 million to run the Senate. It's a lot of money. $3 for every one of you. Not only are they superfluous, but they're costly. $100 million could be used to reduce the waiting lines at every hospital in Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, the British House of Lords, which our esteemed leader mentioned, unpaid. I don't recall them bringing that up. Unpaid in Britain. So the check, when was the last time the Senate vetoed a bill from the House was the free trade debate? And you know what happened? Mulroney found out this obscure law, went to the Queen, she appointed 5 more senators, that gave him control of the Senate. Look it up. So that's the check and balance that we have. The Senate didn't want free trade. They felt we were giving away our sovereignty. And what happened? They just circumvented it. So much for the power of our Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, look it up. The NDP are on the record. The Bloc is on the record. Dalton McGuinty is on the record. They all want to change the Senate. And by the way, we don't want to abolish it. We want to change. We said it's superfluous in its present form. That's our debate tonight. It's called the Red Chamber. Why? Because the senators' cheeks are all flushed red for the booze they drink before they come into the House. And you probably know that the House of Representatives is called the Green Chamber. Why is that? Because they are green with envy. Because they are accountable to the public and are green with envy. That's why the House of Commons is green and the Senate is red. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
evening, ladies and gentlemen. Now, coming up to cross-examine for 2 minutes, and I want to see how this is going to work. I'm curious now. We have Mr. Chip answering questions.
Thank you to the voluminous entry from the member of government. Can you tell me, you're actually proposing that, if I get this straight, you're not proposing that the Senate is superfluous, you're just saying that the people there are superfluous, is that correct?
No.
Can you explain that?
We're saying that the setup of the Senate is superfluous.
The setup of the Senate. And how do you anticipate that would be changed? Is this just by having different people there?
No, I think we made it quite clear we believe it should be elected. That's the main.
And what do you intend that those elected people then do? Do you think do you think the Constitution should be changed to allow for a different process to be enacted in the Senate?
Well, it would definitely require constitutional change. I think it should be modeled.
No. The actual process that goes on in the Senate, would that change?
It wouldn't have to.
Oh, thank you very much. So what you're saying is the way it works now is exactly right.
Excuse me,
Now you've actually told me about the multi-hued aspect of both houses. What source are you using for this multi-hues? Like green with envy and red with booze. Can you tell me what the source is?
The system in
No, I didn't think you
would
would.
change.
You are actually.
You didn't allow me to answer your question.
I know. You're now dealing with a change of structure. The member, the Prime Minister actually brought up a very interesting part this evening. The House is not representative of Aboriginals or of male female. How do you respond? How do you respond to the fact that currently the House of Parliament is only has 20% female population?
Well, that is irrelevant to this debate.
Oh, but you think that the Senate should actually have an equal number of women as men, because that's what the Prime Minister was saying, right?
I think that's irrelevant to our debate. We're not.
But that's what actually Prime
No,
Minister
she actually
said.
said 30% of the Senate is female, larger than the House of
The
Commons.
Prime Minister did say it's unrepresented because women are not represented in the Senate, but they're underrepresented in the House of Parliament. How do you answer that?
She says she didn't say that.
Oh well, you're wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, you have it here from the member of government. What the government here, what the Prime Minister and the member of government are trying to say, albeit through a lens of heading into the unknown territory of the Senate, is actually they're talking about Senate reform. As the member of government so adequately put it, they're not intending to change the way the Senate is run, or the way that the Senate is actually processing information or legislation. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. They do not think that the current process of how the Senate is working is wrong or needs to be changed. They're saying we need to change how the Senate is elected, or how people in the Senate are brought into the Senate. Obviously, the member of government here has a lot of issues about people who are in the Senate, who take long lunches and have copious amounts of liquid lunches without any reference to sources as to where this information comes from. Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you that this is wrong. This is not how the Senate operates at all. And can you also identify the fact that the Houses of Parliament are also in this same boat? The people there who are elected by the people are also in the same process of identifying legislation and doing exactly the same as the Senate are. Now, there is a quotation here from Sir John A. Macdonald, which adequately identifies what the Senate is and has been doing since it was founded. The upper house, which has the sober second thought in legislation. This is exactly what the House is, that the Senate is there for. The parliamentarians enact legislation, not always, but sometimes, but most of the time. And the House is there as a kind of stop we have to look at this legislation, we have to look over it and make sure there isn't something outrageously against the Constitution or outrageously against people. They are there, the Senate is there as a chance to bring some thought into the legislation, which often the parliamentarians have not had time or trouble to bring to their legislation. Parliamentarians are there as your representative, and they like to be seen to be doing things, and they will throw legislation together quite often and then pass it off to the House, off to the Senate, and say that we've done our job. As the leader of the opposition so adequately pointed out, the Senate is there, and it does have the power to turn down bills. It has utilized this power in the past. The Senate is there to scrutinize bills, and it does have this power, and it often makes changes, which could be a very serious change, which affects you and me. There is a great deal of talk from the Prime Minister as to the representation, but to be perfectly honest, where you have an elected House, as in Parliament now, do you see this being mirrored in the representation that you see in the House? Typically, it is white, it is male. It is exactly the same as the Prime Minister is decrying in the Senate. So there is no difference between the makeup of who is in the Senate and who is actually the elected representative by and large. So, ladies and gentlemen, the government here has embarked upon a schizophrenic approach to this debate this evening. They're saying it is superfluous, but then they're saying, well, okay, maybe it's not superfluous, but what we really mean is that the way that people are taken into the Senate is wrong. Well, they can't have it both ways. If they're annoyed that people are elected for Parliament, but just thrown in there as friends of the government, that's fine, but that's not what this debate is about, ladies and gentlemen. It is about whether the Senate is superfluous or not. And we have it from the member of government that the Senate would not be changed however they want to reconstitute it. It would still be doing the same process. So, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to consider what you have heard here tonight from the government and from the opposition, and we ask you to oppose the motion this evening.
Okay, last 2 minutes.
Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the House, my dear member of the opposition, I'm wondering if you aren't hanging around a little bit with these senators and having these long lunches with booze, because you're all over the map, and I'm a little bit jealous. I must be perfectly frank, but I'm very, very jealous. So I commend you on your ability to have these
Actually, if you could tell me where you get these facts from about how the
We asked
the questions, and you certainly,
well, I'm sorry.
done a wonderful
I'm sorry,
rendition.
I didn't hear that question. Could you rephrase it?
My one question,
Oh,
my
sorry.
main question is, could you possibly please sum up in 2 sentences your 2 main points?
The government is wrong, the opposition is right.
I think you just summed up our argument completely. I have one question.
Oh,
I have multiple questions, but this is my second
It'll get more
question.
interesting as we go on.
I hope
We asked
so.
the question.
Are they more difficult?
It depends entirely on your answer. You mentioned that the Senate has used their power to initiate a change. I'm wondering if you have one example of this situation.
Actually, that's an extremely good point that you've raised. They are using their power to initiate change.
These would be your words that I'm repeating.
Oh yes, and I'm glad you brought that up,
just for
because
one
they have actually used their power to change and to send bills back to the House of Parliament on many occasions.
But you don't have one example.
One example.
One
I
example
do
for
actually
us.
have one example.
You
It's
do?
here.
No, you don't
have
actually
to
have
vote.
that. That would be your opposition member.
I'm sorry, we work as a team
We
here.
work as a
I
team.
know that you guys have problems doing
You
that,
see?
but as opposition,
You
we
see?
try and do it together.
So
When we win, we won as a team.
So
And
both
when
of
you
you have
guys lose, you
lunches
lose
with the
individually.
Senate members of the Senate. That is
I'm
what what
sorry.
you said.
Is that another question?
Okay.
Both of you have members, that would be a question.
The dance has a question.
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
the
Chris
dance
was
has a
listening.
question.
I thought.
No, I did. So,
Oh.
I can end at the same time.
There we go. That's 2 minutes? Yeah. Okay, time's up. Thank you. Mr. Co-Adjudicator, I hope you saw that question in there. We'll chat about that later. Anyway, that's it. I'll summarize and not introduce any new comments regarding their argumentation. So I'll ask Mr. Harris to come up for his final 2 minutes to convince you that the Canadian Senate is not superfluous.
If they need to be convinced.
If they need to be.
Boy, they need
There
to
we
be.
are. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to remind you of the exact words of the Prime Minister when she defined superfluous. She said, and I quote, "not needed to govern effectively." I would like to put some opposition to the idea that the Senate is not needed. Specifically, I would like to suggest that when the government suggested that the Senate should be elected, then it seems to me that they are assuming or wishing the Senate to carry on. Well, if they're not needed to govern effectively, why are they suggesting changes? Maybe changes happen, but that's not what superfluous means by their definition. They said not needed to govern effectively. Not once did the government say we do not need the Senate. Not once. And ladies and gentlemen, in the last 17 years, the 2% savings that the Senate made the House of Commons reduce on our GST has saved the Canadian people countless amounts of money. This was because this was the wish of the Canadian people. Canadian people did not want to pay 9%. So the Senate opposed the 9% that the House of Commons wanted and we had it reduced to 7%. This is the function of the Senate. As John A. Macdonald said, they are there for sober second thought. They are a check on the power of the governing party. They fulfill a function. They are not superfluous. They are needed in our system. Ladies and gentlemen, turn down this bill.
And final 2 minutes to the Prime Minister, as always.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to take this opportunity to reiterate the resolution for tonight. The Canadian Senate is, as it operates now, superfluous. It does not work effectively today, as it is set up today. That is the resolution that the government is putting forward to you today. We want the Senate to continue to exist. We believe in the Senate. We believe in the power. Right now, today, we need to make some changes to help make it more effective for the Canadian population. I'd like to take this opportunity to reiterate our proposal. We're saying that we have to introduce more skills, more prerequisites into the senators as they are elected versus appointed, so that the people have a say, Canadians have a say as to who represents the highest house in this country. And through that election process, they are going to, our senators are going to have greater accountability for their decisions. We're not talking about saving 2% off at GST. Canadians did not want a GST tax. We did not want 1%, we did not want 2%. So what we're saying is the senators will have greater accountability to Canadians. Change, as we all know, perpetuates change. We are not the same society that we were in 1867 by any stretch of the imagination. This is a well-known reality. This is who we are. We must move with the times. And that, ladies and gentlemen, leaders of the opposition, a member of the opposition, that is what the government is proposing to today. The Canadian Senate must change from where it is today in order to operate and represent Canadians more effectively. Please vote for the resolution.
Okay, here we are. Now you've heard the arguments, ladies and gentlemen. It is
The Prime Minister made the three salient points on behalf of the motion that the Senate is not experienced, not elected, and not accountable. And these are the concerns of the Canadian public, no doubt. There was an interesting historical note that she made that when they were constituted at the time of Confederation in 1867, they were it was intended that they would represent the landed gentry. She went on to say that this would be the elite. I was a bit uncertain about that. She also said, of course, that they are partisan, that they are washfish, or that is to say, they don't represent the broad spectrum or the demography of the country, and that they can be in there for 45 years, and then you can marry. She went on to say that they rubber stamp legislation, they don't question legislation, and also said that they may not challenge or question. These were pointed, this is plainly not the case, and the opposition, to its credit, did pick up on them. They may indeed challenge, but that's not the full extent of it, as the member of the government went on to say that such challenges would amount to punctuation or other trivial ones. So it is at this point, after having made a very, very good start, that the government somewhat fell down and said they are not elected. And they also said that perhaps if the means of having a Senate, either by election or appointment, were changed in some way, or probably that things could be different or better. And I was left wondering that if the original motion simply argued that the Senate is superfluous, how would changing its manner of appointment or election get rid of that particular charge? And I was left wondering on that. At this point, the leader of the opposition did an excellent job of challenging that. He picked up on it right away, and he said, look, either the Senate is superfluous or it isn't. And if it is, then how will electing it make any change? And that's exactly the point that which the government let down its guard, and that was exactly the point that the leader of the opposition picked up on. So I deducted from the government on that one, and I added to the opposition on that one. He said that the Prime Minister had said that the Senate does not originate bills. He questioned her on that. She had no particular answer. And he questioned her again on he questioned her on the election and the change in the Senate. And again, those weren't answers. So I felt it good that the opposition won that particular first round. However, then I got to wondering what the opposition was up to when the leader of the opposition, given his turn to speak, started speaking about highways and potholes. I said, where is this thing going? After having made some very penetrating challenges to the government argument, it then went off on a tangent completely. And said that just because it's been around for 140 years, it's been around successfully for 140 years. And I was wondering how we got to that as well. And then he came to the sober second thought business, and that's a point that he got away with, but he should never have gotten away with that. You know, how in God's name does the chamber actually introduce sober second thought into legislation? He mentioned about the U.S., but the U.S. is entirely different, as a member of the government pointed out later on. And he said, and here is something that he should have said, and he missed it. He said, he didn't say, but he said that the Senate can send stuff back to the Commons. Now, he said that they originate bills and then they send them back to the Commons. And I'm wondering that if they originate them, they're sending them down to the Commons, they're not sending them back to the Commons. You can only send back a bill that has already come up to you, which made the government's point. But the point is that the opposition didn't pick up on it, so they were into a bit of a circular argument on that one. The cross-examination by the government of the leader of the opposition was quite strong. And Michael started off by asking some very fast questions that left the opposition somewhat stammering. Is it in session now? When was the last time they rescinded the bill? When was the last bill they challenged? All of these, no answers. So the government side really scored well on that. Then the member of the government repeats the PM changes with great emphasis. Michael then went again into the business of non-accountability and so forth. And he pointed out that when they do challenge the legislation, it's trivial, and he pointed, of course, to the abysmal attendance records. So the government side really scored on that one. Right away, though, on the cross-examination, Mr. Smith said, would things change in the Senate if elected? And that, to me, was the key question in the debate. It wasn't presented all that well, and it wasn't hammered home all that well, but it was something that it was the opposition's best shot, and they did find. How would things change if it were elected? If the government had said in its original statement of resolution that the Senate is superfluous and no change at all by election or by appointment is going to make it otherwise, then they have a rock-solid debate, because it's very, very hard to find a case where you need two houses of parliament. Most democracies in the world only have one. And the few that do have upper houses, they're mainly cosmetic, as they are in the case of England and Canada, and to a large degree, elected in the US. Most places get by quite well with a single house. And that's something that should have been brought up. But the one great opportunity for humor was entirely missed when the member of the opposition quoted Sir John A. Macdonald in the context of sober second thought. Missed that one. The government should have nailed it to the wall. I'm reminded of when one of the local bagmen back in Newfoundland got appointed to the Senate. And somebody quipped, sober second thought. He hasn't had a second thought in his life. Few first ones and none sober. So the upshot of it all is that my colleague and I awarded the debate to the opposition for the simple reason that while the government side was extremely well presented, quite eloquent, quite humorous and so forth, they did fall down in their original conception of the resolution that if it's superfluous, then you don't change that by election. And you cannot change horses midstream by saying, as the Prime Minister said in her summation, remember, ladies and gentlemen, the resolution says as things are presently stand or as they're constituted. No, it didn't say that at all. You cannot change the resolution at the last minute. You can argue about the intention of the resolution, but that's an argument that should have been made at the outset. So for that reason, it was a fatally flawed resolution, and the opposition did find it, and we cannot get around that. But in terms of the presentations, the government side is much, much better. And the opposition side, we did dock them points for badgering, for obstructionism, for interruption, for a number of things. Anyway, all in all, an excellent debate. Congratulations.
Heather, before the camera goes off, we'll get a final tally from us.
Well, as usual, as usual, the floor voted opposite to the adjudicators. 9 to the government, 3 to the
Great.
The truth prevails.
Great.
David, now.